Why do these games stand out in modern horror? Honest opinion. This list brings together experiences that show how horror can go far beyond cheap scares. Each game has its own identity, whether through narrative, atmosphere, or gameplay, creating memorable experiences that linger in the player's memory. Don't forget to like, comment, and follow me so you don't miss any videos. Let's get started. Visage is a first-person psychological horror game. Here, the terror is psychological and persistent. The game builds fear gradually, using the environment and silence as its main tools. Every detail contributes to a constant feeling of discomfort, which works very well. The game focuses on exploration and slowly builds tension to create a deeper and more meaningful experience for the player. Its story is revealed through surreal images and subtle details integrated into the environment. It is a difficult game in an unconventional way. Explore a mysterious and ever-changing house in a world with a slow-paced atmosphere, combining strangely comforting environments with horribly realistic ones, and enjoy a terrifying and genuine gaming experience. The game is set in a huge house where terrible things have happened. You will wander through its dark corridors, explore all the lifeless rooms, and lose yourself in endless mazes, your head filled with memories of the dead families who once lived in this very house. This perverse environment, with no sign of life other than your own, takes you to places you never dared to imagine.
Can I just say how very happy I am to finally have you with us? Isabella has told us all about you, especially you, little one.
Anna's been through a lot.
We can help her with that. Soon, she will fear nothing.
Tormented Souls is a third-person survival horror game in the style of the original Resident Evil, a clear homage to classic survival horror. Fixed cameras, well-designed puzzles, and an oppressive setting make the game a nostalgic experience, but with its own identity and modern execution, with fixed camera angles. The player explores an abandoned hospital and can interact with the environment, solve puzzles, and use improvised weapons to fight monsters that inhabit the hospital. The story begins in December 1994 with Caroline Walker, a Canadian woman, receiving a photograph in the mail of twin girls, Anna and Emma, which leads her to discover what is happening to them. She tracks them down to the abandoned Wildberger Hospital to find answers, but is ambushed with a blow to the head and knocked unconscious upon arrival. When she wakes up, she discovers that her right eye has been surgically removed. With the help of a priest, Caroline explores the hospital to find out who the twins are. During her investigation, she finds strange VHS tapes that allow her to travel back in time. In the past, Walker meets Anna, who explains that she was imprisoned by her grandfather. Eventually, Walker discovers her own childhood bedroom and remembers that she is Emma, who suffered amnesia 14 years earlier while escaping from the hospital, and vows to rescue Anna. To bypass a door that requires the biometrics of twins to open, she travels to the past to remove the eyes of her past self. On the other side of the door, Caroline confronts the priest, revealed to be her maternal grandfather Noah, and the man responsible for the events at the hospital. Noah has been trying to sacrifice twins to resurrect a monstrous savior. He tried to do the same with Anna and Emma in childhood, but their mother stopped him and escaped with Emma. Caroline also discovers that in the present day, Anna has been transformed into a horrible monster. She pursues Noah to the Savior's chamber, where he offers his own blood to resurrect him. Walker Emma kills the Savior in combat. The ending of the game depends on Walker's final interaction with Anna from the present. If she ignores Anna, Anna ambushes her when she leaves the hospital. If she discovers an antidote for Anna's mutation, Caroline mourns her family before leaving. Alternatively, Caroline can travel back to the past one last time and rescue Anna from her past captivity. Caroline vows to explain everything to Anna one day and adopts her.
I'm taking the liberty of preparing some entertainment for you.
Ah, the entertainment.
Without further ado, the gallant knight protects the princess fair.
Resident Evil 4 Remake, an example of how to modernize a classic without losing its essence. The game manages to balance action and tension with an engaging pace, bringing visual and mechanical improvements that make the experience even more fluid and impactful. The story follows Special Agent Leon S. Kennedy, who is sent on a mission to rescue the daughter of the President of the United States, Ashley Graham, who has been kidnapped by a religious cult in a rural part of Spain. Leon fights hordes of enemies infected by a mind-controlling parasite and reunites with spy Ada Wong. The player controls the protagonist Leon S. Kennedy from a third-person perspective. The gameplay focuses on action and shootouts, involving crowds of enemies in large open areas. Depending on the situation, the player can interact with aspects of their environment, knock down a ladder, jump out of a window, or dodge an enemy attack. There are also real-time events in which the player must press the buttons indicated on the screen to perform actions. This feature is often incorporated into many boss battles in the game, where the player must avoid attacks that cause instant death. The game's inventory features a grid system, represented by an executive briefcase, in which each item occupies a certain number of spaces. The briefcase can be upgraded several times, freeing up more space. Weapons, ammunition, and healing items are kept in the briefcase.
Or you will try to earn your rebirth as Murkoff's perfect sleeper agent. The trials are designed to be a brutal assault.
The Outlast Trials is a first-person shooter and psychological survival horror video game. The franchise takes a new approach without losing its essence. The cooperative experience adds unpredictability, while the atmosphere of tension and persecution remains the highlight of the series. It is a spin-off of the Outlast series, serving as a prequel to the two previous games, and featuring test subjects in a mysterious experiment during the Cold War. The Outlast Trials will feature a multiplayer mode, a sequel to Outlast 2. During this announcement, Red Barrels stated that since they could not release DLCs for the second game in the franchise due to its structure, they would develop a smaller project related to Outlast. The Outlast Trials was mentioned in October 2019 and is not a direct sequel to Outlast 2. The game revolves around test subjects in a Cold War experiment in the same universe as the previous segments. David Chateauneuf, co-founder of Red Barrels, said that the proof of concept is complete. Dredge is a 2023 fishing adventure horror RPG, a horror that grows silently. The combination of quiet exploration with a constant feeling of strangeness creates a unique atmosphere. It is a game that captivates through curiosity and atmosphere, without resorting to exaggerated scares. The game follows a fisherman who encounters creatures as he ventures into an open-world archipelago. In Dredge, the player controls a small motorized fishing boat. The game takes place in a day-night cycle, where specific player actions, such as sailing or fishing, advance the clock. The player can search for fish to catch, or underwater items to salvage at certain points, where they play a brief mini-game to bring their catch on board. If the player remains out at night, a panic meter begins to rise, with higher levels leading to hallucinations that change the reality around the boat, creating dangers that can damage the player's vessel. However, some fish are only available at night, forcing the player to remain out during these periods. The waters around the archipelago also contain a number of sea monsters that can attack the player. After docking at the main settlement or with a traveling merchant, players can sell their catch and purchase new equipment for their boat, such as brighter lights, faster engines, or better fishing gear that expands the types of fish that can be caught. Little Nightmares 2 is an adventure, horror, and puzzle video game. Visually stunning and narratively symbolic, the game uses settings and characters to tell a story without words, creating disturbing and memorable moments through its atmosphere and artistic design. After managing to escape the horrors of the Maw, Six must work with another child named Mono to infiltrate the Tower of Signals. The game was announced as the sequel to Little Nightmares 2017, and will feature a new character, Mono, alongside the protagonist of the previous game, Six, as a computer-controlled character, a boy trapped in a world that has been distorted by an evil transmission. Together with his friend Six, he embarks on a journey to discover the source of the transmission. A world that has been distorted by the transmission that emits buzzing sounds from a distant tower. On a journey to uncover the dark secrets of the Tower of Signals. The mission will not be easy. Mono and Six will face several new threats from the terrible inhabitants of this world. Signalis is a survival horror video game, a deep and stylized narrative horror. The retro aesthetic, combined with a layered story, makes each discovery emotionally charged. It is a game that rewards attention and interpretation. The gameplay consists of top-down shooting elements from a 2.5D top-down perspective, with occasional puzzle elements. The puzzles range from manipulating switches and gauges to searching for certain frequencies to transmit on Elster's radio implant. The difficulty and thematic elements are enhanced by the use of resource management as a gameplay and narrative mechanic. Elster can only carry 6 items with him, including weapons, ammunition, and key items to use in solving puzzles and unlocking doors. In the style of Resident Evil, another survival horror series, there are safe rooms that allow the player to save their progress and store their items for future use. Signalis takes place in a retro-futuristic world, in a planetary system similar to the solar system, ruled by the totalitarian Yusan nation, which remains at war with the Yusan Empire, from which it seceded. The nation employs replicas, biosynthetic clones manufactured to emulate model workers and soldiers. The player character, Elster, is a ship technician from the replica unit who wakes up in the wreckage of her crashed reconnaissance ship and sets out in search of her ship's human pilot, encountering strange events of possibly supernatural origin in an underground mining facility. The game contains multiple endings that depend on the player's choices.
You bring the police to my door? To my rig?
I can sort this, right? I just need time.
Don't you answer me back! You're fired. You hear me? Fire.
Stillwakesthedeep is a first-person psychological horror game. Isolation is the real villain here. The maritime setting and survival-focused narrative create constant tension, making the player feel trapped in a hopeless situation. The game takes place in December 1975 on an oil rig called Beira D in the North Sea. In the game, the player takes control of a Glasgow electrician named Cameron Kaz McClary, who must navigate the oil rig after a catastrophic event, searching for a way to escape while surviving the harsh weather and fleeing from pursuing creatures. The player character can run, jump, and climb stairs, although Kaz may tremble when navigating the platform's hostile environments, causing him to fall if the player does not react in time to fast-paced events. Kaz is equipped with a flashlight, which can be used to illuminate dimly lit areas. The game has no information display. If the monster is close to the player, colored floating dots will appear in Kaz's peripheral vision. However, the game has no combat system, and players must rely on stealth, such as hiding behind objects and inside ventilation ducts or throwing objects to distract enemies, and solving simple environmental puzzles to progress. When the player is being chased by the monster, they have the option to quickly look back while running forward. Still, Wakesthedeep is a linear game, and the development team uses yellow paint on various surfaces to direct players to their objectives. Players need to visit various locations multiple times throughout the game's campaign, although the environment gradually changes as the game's events unfold. The game also features a story mode, allowing players to play on a lower difficulty setting. Crowcountry is a survival horror game, a retro charm that works surprisingly well. The game relies on visual simplicity and atmosphere to create accessible but effective horror, reminiscent of classic experiences with a creative approach. Set in 1990, the story follows investigator Mara Forrest, who travels to the abandoned theme park Crowcountry in search of its owner, and discovers the dark secrets the park hides. Gameplay focuses on exploring the park, solving puzzles, and defeating enemies. The game was announced in 2023. Its visual style and gameplay were designed to be similar to the first survival horror titles released for the PlayStation in the 1990s, including Resident Evil and Silent Hill. The developers sought to faithfully emulate the presentation and design philosophy of the older games, while introducing modern features such as improved controls for movement and aiming, as well as accessibility options. Combat requires players to aim and shoot at monsters encountered in the park using various weapons. Mara starts the game with a pistol and can obtain additional weapons, such as grenades, a a shotgun, and a flamethrower. Players cannot shoot while running and must stand still to manually focus their aim. Players have limited health, which is reduced by enemy hits or environmental hazards and traps, and can be recovered using bandages, first aid kits, and antidotes. Healing items and ammunition can be collected by interacting with vending machines and containers. Players gain access to new areas through exploration, locating keys, and solving puzzles, some of which involve combining items found in different locations. Certain puzzles offer secret items that reward players with weapon and equipment upgrades upon completion. Players also collect notes and journal entries scattered throughout the park, which provide hints for puzzles and reveal details of the story leading up to the events of the game. In safe rooms, players can save their progress and review a notebook to see all notes collected so far. Enemies deal more damage, supplies are scarcer, and Mara cannot run if she is seriously injured. Alien. Isolation is an action-adventure survival video game, a masterclass in building tension. The game perfectly understands how to use silence, sound, and the enemy's artificial intelligence to keep the player in a constant state of alert. One of the most solid examples of immersive horror. The game is based on the Alien science fiction horror film series and takes place 15 years after the events of the original 1979 Alien film, following engineer Amanda Ripley, daughter of Alien protagonist Ellen Ripley, as she investigates her mother's disappearance. For most of its duration, the alien cannot be killed, requiring the player to use stealth tactics to survive. Although the game features some weapons, they are only lethal against humans, androids, and facehuggers. The player can also finish the game without eliminating humans, using non-lethal methods. Instead of following a predetermined path, the alien's artificial intelligence was programmed to actively hunt the player by sight, hearing, and smell. It has been programmed with a complex set of behavioral models that unlock as it encounters the player, creating the illusion that the alien learns from each encounter with the player and appropriately adjusts its hunting strategy. This includes the alien's ability to investigate secondary sources of disturbance. For example, if it notices an open cabinet or air vent, the alien will search for whoever opened it. The alien emits specific vocalizations depending on its objective. A scream may indicate that it is about to attack, while other sounds may indicate that it is searching, that it has seen something, or that it has lost track of its prey. The player has the ability to crouch down to hide behind objects to break line of sight with the alien, and the player can then secretly peek over or lean out to gain vision. The player can also run, and has both a flashlight and a motion tracker to detect the alien's movements. However, using either of these creates noise or light, which increases the chance of the alien finding the player. The player can go under tables or cabinets to hide from the alien, and sometimes has to press a button to make Amanda hold her breath to avoid making noise. The levels are designed for non-linear exploration, with multiple entry and exit points for each room, providing alternative routes for the alien to attack or the player to escape. The game has a minimalist interface that requires the player to use their inventory to acquire information, such as bringing the motion tracker to locate the alien. Conclusion. What unites these games is not only fear, but creativity in the way they provoke sensations. Each title delivers a distinct experience, proving that horror remains one of the most innovative genres in the industry when well executed. Now I want to know, which of these games made the biggest impression on you? Or is still on your list? Comment below, leave a like, and if you want a part 2 with more horror games, just let me know. What did you think of the video? Which game is your favorite? Leave your suggestions in the comments. Thank you.